Shalom, family. Well, tonight we're in for another teaching. Some of you, it might be daytime by the time you possibly get to this because it is pretty late when I'm actually recording this. I was listening to a prophet, it's probably been a couple of weeks now, and he mentioned something that I've already discussed once before. Not something that I've placed on live or that I've placed on YouTube before, but he touched in an area which the Ruach HaKodesh let me know that I need to touch within that area once again, since it's something that I've taught once before already. And my title is Blessed in the Midst of a Curse. Now, if we think of today's time, of everything that's going on around us, there are people that are sick, there are people that are dying. Some people can't even bury the dead, or a lot of the relatives will not be able to come to a funeral, which is a normal for us. There are businesses that are closed all around us, as well as they close earlier than your normal time of being open. So since we are dealing with all these type of things, we are in what they call quarantine, and quarantine is actually for sick people, even though the whole nation is not sick, but that's what they're calling it, quarantine. Knowing the changes that we're in right now and the changes that are coming ahead, it lets the people of God know that we are really blessed, but we're in the midst of a curse. We've been in the midst of a curse for a while. And this story that I'm going into is about Joseph and what he went through. And you will see throughout his lifetime, in the beginning stages, he went through a lot. Now, I don't want to start from his beginning yet, but we're going to do a recap, or we're going to do a flashback, if you want to call it that. We're going to start in Genesis 39, and I'm going to read 1 through 12. And Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites, which had brought him down thither. And Yahuwah was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of his master of Egypt. All right, before we take it any further, first thing is first, is Joseph at this point is now in Egypt, and he's being purchased by the captain of the Egyptian army, which is Potiphar. And Potiphar noticed already, one thing that you got to highlight is that it says that the Lord was with Joseph. That's a key factor. When the Lord is with you, okay, nothing can come against you. It doesn't matter where you are. As long as the Lord is with you, then you're going to be all right. Your situation is not going to seem as bad as it could have been if you did not have the Lord with you. And we're going to see this to be true. So it tells you right off the bat, when it said that the Lord was with him, it says that he was a prosperous man. And he was in the house of his master in Egypt. So most slaves don't get to stay in the same house as their master. They have an area where they are sleeping quarters of their own, which is usually outside of the house. It is not a room that is within the house. None of that goes down when you are a slave. They treat you just like a slave, like you are under them, like you're beneath them. But as we see here, Joseph was not being treated that way. All because right off the bat, Potiphar recognized that the Lord is with this man. He's already prosperous. Let's find out and see how prosperous he was. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hands. So meaning whatever he touched, whatever he put his hands to, it grew. It turned into something that was major. It brought in funds. Like, I spend money for you, but you're making me money. So who you know that wouldn't want to keep somebody in their atmosphere that was making them money on a constant? I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people out there that will make sure that they hold on to that person because that person just became their golden nugget. So it says, and Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him, and he made him overseer over his house, and all that he had he put into his hands. So not only did he see that the Lord was with him, but he also made him overseer over everything. Like, you know what? I don't even want to be in charge of, the situations that go on in my house. Why don't you just tell people what they need to do, and then they'll do it, and I know things will go well as long as you overseeing it. This was like a tidbit or just a sample of where the Lord was planning on taking him. Overseer over his whole house, as well as whatever you whatever you want to do, Joseph, do it, because I know it's going to be a good thing. That's basically what he placed on Joseph inside of his house. But that was just the start of an elevation. Sometimes we don't see God elevating us to a certain area when we first being put in the area, because like I told you, if you think of you a slave, you got sold off. So in your mind, I'm somewhere I really should not be. Working for somebody that I really shouldn't be working for. So here it is. This is the curse part of it. But in the midst of the curse, he was still blessed. Like I said, if you look at any of the other slaves, he was lifted up above all the other slaves. They probably was looking at him sideways like, how you get in the house? But he was there. And it came to pass from the time that he had made him overseer of his house and over all he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. And the blessing of the Lord was upon all that he had in the house and in the field. So, because of the position that he was in, because of the role that Potiphar placed on him, blessing was all over that house. Not only was it inside of the house, but it reached all the way out into the fields. Why? Because Joseph was the overseer of it. And because the Lord was with Joseph. So everywhere he went, it's like everywhere your feet tread, blessings shall follow you. That's what was going on with Joseph. And he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and he knew not aught he had, save the bread which he did eat. And Joseph was a goodly person and well fared. So meaning he left everything in his hands except for, the bread that he basically put in his mouth. Meaning I don't have you serving me hand and foot as far as in feeding me or anything like that. But, you still under me, but you still over my house as well. So everything that he did, he basically had charge over. And it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, lie with me. So this lets you know Joseph was a handsome man. I mean, he was very fetching, if you ask me. I mean, a woman of a high position, married to somebody in a high position, noticed him. I mean, to her, he wasn't only blessed, but he looked it good. So she saw areas of where she could possibly be with him. So when she found moments, she'll throw it out at him. Lay with me. Okay, she knew that her husband was gone. This was the perfect opportunity. But he refused and said unto his master's wife, behold, my master wotteth not what is with me in the house, and he hath committed all that he has in my hand. So basically he's telling her, hold on. My master did tell me that, I'm an overseer over everything in the house, but I'm not your overseer. I'm not finna do it. I'm not finna touch that. That's not what he told me to oversee. There is none greater in this house than I. Neither hath he kept back anything from me but thee, because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? So he was telling her straight up, listen, he ain't leave me over you. He ain't tell me to do nothing with you. Just watch over the house, not anything to do with watching over you. And I'm not finna do this wickedness. Not that I don't want to do wickedness to my master, but this go deeper than my master. I'm not finna do wickedness or sin against my God, because that's gonna come back on me. That's not something I'm finna do. So automatically, right off the bat, he feared God more than he feared the master that was a part of that house. Because that master don't have no place to take him to. That master can do things to his soul, but he can't do nothing to him to that full extent. So he wasn't worried about him like that. And it came to pass, as she spake to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her, to lie by her, or to be with her. So Joseph chose, listen, I hear what you keep saying to me, but I'm not finna lay near you, and I'm not finna sleep with you. That's out of the question. I'm not even gonna get close enough for you to think that it's a possibility for me to sleep with you. And it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business, and there was none of the men of the house there within. And she caught him by his garment and saying, lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. So, do you see that conniving mess that the enemy just did? The enemy just used that woman, and in her mind, she was like, okay, maybe he feel like if people around, he just won't lay with me. Maybe he need to really feel like we got some privacy going on. So I'm going to tell all the servants, to make sure that they out of the house. And it's just going to be me and him. Then I know he'll lay with me then. Most definitely. In her mind, that made sense. But that didn't work. No. Because he came in to do his normal job that he usually do. I mean, he was like walking in, you might as well say blind. Because he was not expecting any of that. Even though he knew she had been trying him continuously. But in trying him continuously, his thing was, I've been telling you no. Obviously, she don't got the picture right now. But when the enemy is using a person, the enemy is looking for your weakness. Oh, the enemy don't just stop at 1, 2, 3 attempts. Oh, no. Because his thing is, I'm breaking him down. I'm breaking him down. All I got to do is keep tapping at that door just a little bit longer, and he'll give in. Why? Because that's what most men do. Not all, but most men will. If you have a beautiful woman in front of you, and you can see that she married, but she keep, kind of making advances and making advances and making advances, and possibly putting on something that might be just a little revealing, so you can see just a little bit more of her, got on see-through outfits and stuff like that, just traipsing through the area. Remember, we in Egypt at this time. The Egyptians, they were very bold with the stuff that they did, especially if you was an Egyptian in a place of power or married to somebody in a place of power. You felt like it wasn't nothing you could do wrong. You can walk around the house half naked and know that the servants know they ain't supposed to say nothing to you, or supposed to look upon you, or supposed to do anything to you. So for her to walk around, like halfway with nothing on, she probably felt like that was just comfortable, because she felt like eventually that was going to become appealing to him. But he didn't want no parts in that. So I'm pretty sure in his way of walking around at the job, he was like, dog, I wonder where everybody at. I don't see nobody. Maybe they in another part of the house. Maybe they eating. Maybe they on break. So in his mind, I'm pretty sure quite a few scenarios played in his mind. And I'm pretty sure she knew exactly what time he come in to work every day. So she made sure she went moseying on by during the time when he made it in there, to ask him once again to lie with me. And she grabbed him. Like, she was persistent, very bossy, very controlling with the whole thing. Like, you gonna lay with me? Oh, you ain't getting up out of here. He didn't care about that. Like, you can hold on to me all you want to, but I'm finna get away from you so much the way he ripped his own clothes trying to get up out of there. Now, you know that's a fear of God right there. Like, I'm not finna do this. I done told you I ain't finna sin against my God, and you still trying to make me do this? No, I'm up out of here. So he fled and didn't look back. I mean, my boy got up out of there quick. So, knowing his position, he at that moment was blessed. But here come the next part of the curse. Because do you not know that she told on that joker? She yelled for the servants, made sure that the servants had somewhat of a witness to what was going on, even though none of them was around when it actually went down. But she made sure she played her role to the T. You know, he tried to take advantage of me, this Hebrew. Made sure she highlighted, you know, that he's beneath us. The nerve of him thinking that he could actually touch me, that I would allow him to touch me. And she held her role all the way until her husband came home. And when her husband came home, she made sure that she pointed out, this man that you chose, this man that you chose to leave me with, decided that it was just okay to have his way with me. Now, any man, if he loved his wife, he's going to be hot. Because, you know, he's not seeing the deception strongly about what that woman doing. All he can see is how I placed you in a position. And this is how you repay me? You would turn around and you sleep with my wife or make advances at my wife? So much the way she had to try to protect herself? Now, I'm pretty sure Joseph was taken aback like, man, what you talking about? I would never do anything like that. I've never disrespected you. I've always did what you asked me to do. And I've always watched over your house like you're supposed to. That ain't something that I would do. That ain't something that my God would allow me to do. I wouldn't sin against my God like that. That to me is pushing me down to a low level. That's not something that I would do. I wouldn't do that to my God, and I definitely wouldn't do that to you. So no, I wouldn't do that. But because Potiphar had a certain high position that he had to stand in, and she had already pointed it out to the servants, he wasn't finna make it seem like, you know, he would let something like that slide. So now Joseph had to be put in prison. And we're going to jump to the prison scene. What's going on in prison after he got put there by Potiphar off of the lie that Potiphar's wife told. Sometimes you got to be careful with, you know, the way people can scheme and connive against you. I would say it's women only, but it's not. It's women as well as men. Women will do it to get what they want, and men will do it to get what they want. I mean, there is no type of respected person going down with opposites of sex. It doesn't matter. When it comes down to things that people want, they will rob, steal, kill, lie, connive, do whatever they got to do, hurt, step on toes as they working their way up. It's what most people do. I'm not saying everybody, because some people do have a heart. Some people claim they got a heart, but will still step on people's toes, will still use people in order to get to where they need to be, which is wrong. Joseph knew that that was wrong. A true man of God, a true person that fears God, won't do people like that. Won't do it won't even have a thought to do it. Why? Because he know that he's doing something that's against Elohim. So he ain't finna do that in the first place. Let alone go past the thought of how it would hurt that man. No, I'm not finna hurt my God. Ain't got nothing to do with you. So we finna jump to 20, okay? And Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound. And he was there in prison, but the Lord was with Joseph and showed him mercy and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. You don't went from one curse to the next curse, from one curse to a blessing, from another curse to another blessing. So even though you made it to a low point the way you locked up now, it's said once again, the Lord was with him. Like I said, that's a key factor right there. Whose side are you on? Who's with you? Is it the Lord that's with you, or is it an evil spirit that's with you? Because if it's an evil spirit that's with you, you ain't finna make it. But if it's the Lord that's with you, you're going to be blessed, regardless of where you are. So here it is. The keeper he had favor with the keeper. And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners that were in the prison, and whatsoever they did there, he was the doer of it. So here it is. At first he was the overseer in Potiphar's house. Now he's over all the prisoners. And whatever they do, they basically got to go to him first to make sure it's okay. Should we do it this way? Should we do it that way? Is this procedure right? What type of rules should we kick into play at this point? Once again, a sample of where the Lord is taking it. It might have seemed like he was dropping down levels, but with each level that he dropped down, there was a teaching there. There was an experience there. Something that he needed to learn. One, I can't put you in a high position over people if you don't know how to rule over people. You rule over those that are low first before I put you in a high position to rule over those who are higher. So here it is. You learning in the midst of the mess. The keeper of the prison looked not to anything that was under his hands, because the Lord was with him. And that which he did, the Lord made it to prosper. So once again, the keeper inside of the prison noticed, hold on. Joseph is a golden nugget. Man, everything that's going on down here is prospering. Everybody paying they fines like they supposed to. Man, they paying their court costs and their fees. Everybody on point. I mean, we living large in here because everybody's just paying, and people donating money, to the prison and stuff like that. Everything was maneuvering just because Joseph was in the atmosphere. So you can change a situation just by being in the atmosphere. When people understand that the Lord is with you and they take that in consideration, then not only do they see you get blessed, but they get blessed in the process. See, when people can recognize that and understand, wait a minute, I'm among somebody that's blessed. I just need to sit back and enjoy the ride. Then you get a part of the blessing too. It is what it is. So, two situations, and those are just two, but that's not it. Two situations where Joseph was placed in that you saw, even though he was in what you would consider as a cursed situation, he was still being blessed. Now we're going to do a flashback into Joseph's life and find out and see how he got there in Egypt in the first place. See, some people know the story, but people who are new to the scene don't know the story. People who drink milk might not even remember the story, even if they've heard it before in the midst of church or on TV. Sometimes we don't hold information like we supposed to unless it's broken down a certain type of way. So we're going to flash back into Joseph's life. Basically, Joseph was a teenager at this point in time. And he was his father's favorite. His father's favorite. So to know that he was the favorite of his father, he had 11 brothers. 11 brothers. Not all of them had the same mom. So 11 brothers that was divided up among 4 women, which was total chaos. Because out of all those 4 women, it was only one that he really wanted. And that was Rachel. And he spent all his time with Rachel. Rachel happens to be Joseph's mother. That was her firstborn child. She loved Joseph because it took her a long time before she was able to get Joseph. She was hot about that whole situation too. So when Joseph came into play, knowing that that was his dad's first love, that was Jacob's first love right there. So here it is. Jacob truly loved Joseph. Joseph was the promised child. You supposed to be with Rachel. So Joseph is the one that comes down the line of the promised child. And trust and believe, when you got other siblings and you show favoritism, oh, they know. They recognize. They understand. See, they had to work the field, but Joseph didn't. It had nothing to do with Joseph being the baby because he had a younger brother under him. It had a lot to do with how much they daddy truly loved Joseph. He loved him so much that he created and made him his own coat. Not his mama made the coat. No, his daddy made the coat for him. A coat of many colors. A beautiful coat. Which only made the brothers mad. Because I'm pretty sure they think like, Daddy ain't never made me no coat before. Why would he make Joseph a coat? I mean, if anybody should be getting a coat, it should be the oldest. I mean, he deserves a coat. Why the oldest didn't get a coat? Daddy ever got you a coat before? But nobody was able to admit whether he showed that type of favoritism to them. They just knew that they had to work in the fields. Joseph was what we call a dreamer. Now, he thought being a dreamer was a good thing. I mean, an excellent thing to him. So, Joseph's first dream, in the dream, he saw that they were binding sheaves in the field. And his sheaf rose and stood upright of their sheaves. And their sheaves stood round about and made obeisance to his sheaf. Now, rose, when it says that his sheaf rose, meaning it was lifted up above them, showing an elevation in level. Even though he was younger than them, it showed an elevation in level. Now, it said that theirs, when his rose up, it stood also. Not only did it rise up in level, but it made him higher than them, totally. So when their sheaves stood up from the ground of where it was, because sheaves are wheat that you bind up. So when theirs stood up, meaning they were upright, but they weren't on the same level to him. Instead, they were looking up to him like he was above them. They did obeisance. And obeisance is they bowed down to him. Now, he knew exactly what that dream was. They knew exactly what that dream was. And his brothers, when they understood the dream, they hated him even more for having a dream about them like that. In their mind, they was like, ain't no way we're going to be bowing down to you. You done lost your mind for real. Now, he had a second dream. And in this second dream, he saw the sun and the moon and 11 stars made obeisance to him. Now, his father had questioned the whole situation. And he wanted to know, so basically what you're saying, what kind of dream was this? You mean to tell me your mother and I and your 11 brothers gonna bow down to you? Joseph, that sounds kind of off. I mean, how are we gonna be bowing down to you? Now, at this point, his brothers are envying him. They really can't stand him now. But see, the dad had it kind of twisted because he said the sun and the moon and the 11 stars. If you pay attention when all this go about, his mother ain't living. But his dad didn't know that at that particular time. That would have been like a future event. At that time, his mom was living. So he didn't know that was actually, you know what, she wasn't living. She was already pretty much on her way out in a little bit. But she hadn't died yet in order for him to say that. So here it is. After his father thought about it, he observed what he said. Like, Lord, could this be a possibility? Could we possibly bow down to him one day? Okay, Lord, I don't see how it will be possible, but to God be the glory anyways. And he left her alone. His brothers were supposed to be feeding the flock in Midian, but they weren't feeding the flock. They instead went down a little further than Midian and was playing around. Now, their dad told Joseph to go check on his brothers. And he did. And when he couldn't find them in their normal place, someone else told him where he saw them going at. So he went, and as he was headed down towards his brothers saw him coming afar off. And the first thing they started saying, here comes the dreamer. And they didn't like that. And when they saw him, they wanted to slay him. cast him into a pit, and tell everyone that some evil beast devoured him. Now that was their discussion. This his siblings now, even though they only his half siblings, but still they were his siblings. They hated him just that much that they were conniving and thinking of ways that they could take him out. Boy, I tell you, the mind of a person when they don't like you, they will do just about anything to get you out the way. Say just about anything to get you out the way. Because not only had they made up in their mind that to kill him, but they also had it planned out to throw him in a pit and a story to cover up what they did. We're going to just say an evil beast, devoured him. But the evil beast was turning out to be them. They were being used at that time. Then one of them said, "We shall see what will become of his dream." So basically you speaking against what God don't show this man in a dream. See, one thing about it, the enemy can't change your course. See, your course is set. When the Lord shows you about your future, about your destiny, and about his plans for your life, it don't matter what the enemy throw at you. You still gonna do exactly what the Lord showed you that you're gonna do. It's gonna come to pass. So the whole throwing out the question, we'll see if what becomes of his dream. Oh, that was a true prophecy that he made right then. Because eventually they will see what will become of his dream. And it's going to shut them up and make them scared and nervous all at the same time. Now, Reuben, which was, also one of his brothers, Reuben didn't feel too hot about the things that they was talking about doing. So he thought of ways to work around it. So he pushed his way past his brothers and made it to grab him from him. And say, let us not kill him. But he told them, let's throw him into this pit. Because it was his plan to return him again to his father. He didn't want to kill his brother. He really didn't want to hurt him, too bad like that. Like maybe if I make them feel as though putting him in the pit is punishment enough for him, they won't, think about killing him anymore. So that was his suggestion. Also, y'all talked about putting him in the pit. Let's just put him in the pit, and eventually it was Reuben's plan to make sure that he did make it back to the father, when everybody else wasn't paying attention. That was his plan. So that was, pretty decent of Reuben, to do. He was, not all his brothers was heartless, thank God. So they took his coat and threw him into the pit. And when they saw the Ishmaelites passing by, Judah suggested that they sell him to the Ishmaelites because it wouldn't profit them to kill him and conceal his blood. Now, this is another scenario that don't happen in the Old Testament already. Think way back to Cain and Abel. Cain killed Abel and tried to conceal that man's body by burying him. But his blood was crying out from the earth. He tried to hide it. And this is the same plot and the plan that the brothers was coming up to. So when sin kicked in, sin don't do too many new scenarios. It don't offer you, anything too new when sin kicks in. It do repeat stuff. Might be a different person. Might be just a tad difference. But trust and believe, it's like the same scenario. And that's exactly what was going about with the brothers. They working out this same mess. Now the Ishmaelites, that was their grandfather's relatives. That was Abraham. That was Isaac's brother. Ishmael was Isaac's brother. So here it is. You finna sell him off to his uncle people, which don't know him because they weren't communicating like that. Ishmael and Isaac, they had they differences. And when I mean their differences, there was to them some favoritism going on in that area too. Ishmael felt like, why did I have to be sent away and, be over here in this area? Me and my mom had to fend for ourselves. Where it is, Isaac got a chance to, be raised with his mom and his dad. So that will bring, a little tension through the siblings. Even though Abraham tried to make sure that it wouldn't be tension, because if you know much about the story, you'll notice that Ishmael showed back up, to bury his father at his father's funeral. He showed back up. So the tension wasn't bad enough the way Ishmael would stay completely away, but he still had his feelings about the whole thing, just like the brothers had, when it comes down to a favorite child out of everybody else, a chosen child versus somebody who just in the vicinity that really wasn't supposed to be in play, but they here now, and ain't nothing you can do about it. So here it is. This Joseph had dreams, and from his dream, he ended up in a pit and being sold off to his relatives. So once again, I'm pretty sure he didn't think of, at first he thought of his dreams as being a cool thing. But then later on, he thought of his dreams as being a curse. This is a curse. It got me hated by my brothers. My brothers was envying me. They stole my coat that my dad made for me. They threw me in a pit without anything to eat. Then decided to sell me off. And from the Ishmaelites, that's how he ended up in Egypt. Now, it's amazing how that same thing that he thought was good, that to him he felt like later on was a curse, turned out to be the same thing that would end up blessing him in the midst of the mess. And that's what brought him out of prison. If you read a little further, you will find out those same way of having dreams and interpreting dreams. See, his gift had matured at this time. He went from having dreams and knowing the interpretation into hearing other people's dreams and knowing the interpretation. Even though he let them know right off the bat, it ain't me. This ain't no power of mine of being able to know the interpretation. I only get it from the true person who can bring about interpretation, which is Elohim himself. So he always took it off himself and placed it right back where glory and honor is supposed to be, which is with God. So don't look at your situation as being such a bad situation. I know how it looks. I know it might look bad to some people. To some people, they feel like they are truly in a cursed situation, dealing with the things that are going on around them. That's just on the outskirts, meaning what's going on within the world. There are also people who are going through within their own households of feeling like, oh my goodness, could this situation get any worse? And again, we saw Joseph's situation trickle. It went from chaos at the house, a pit, being sold off, to being a slave, from being a slave to a prison, from being in prison to finally making it to the palace. I told my supervisor one time, is pretty much in his scenario was from the pit to the palace. Now, it didn't happen that quickly. He didn't get out of the pit and make it straight into the palace status, but he made it close enough. The only reason why he didn't make it to that status right off the bat is because he had to be shaped and molded into what his dream showed him in the first place. See, we all go through levels. If you ain't ready for that position, the Lord ain't gonna put you there. Because if he put you there too early, you're gonna mess it up. You have to stay humble and understand how you got there and who put you there. To know, don't belittle people. Don't talk down upon people. Help those after you rise up. Help those that are in need. That's what it's all about. So you got to go through to get the shaping and the molding so you can understand and know how it is to help others and not look down. See, a lot of people that's in royalty, like those pharaohs, they get passed down the name Pharaoh. And being passed down the name of Pharaoh and coming up in a royalty situation, you tend to look down at the people that are around you. You treat them smaller than you. Like they will never be above you. They will never be as equal to you. But we will see that every role that he kept being put in was preparing him for the future that the Lord was leading him into. So, my prayer to you is that you count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptation. I know when the man of God said that a long time ago and wrote that down, we probably looked at him sideways. Man, how are we supposed to count this situation as joy? This looked like total chaos. But don't think of it as mess when you are still being blessed in the midst of the mess. God has always looked out for his people, always watched over his people, and always protected his people. Remember, it is us that walk away from Elohim. He never walks away from us. And he is always there waiting with open arms for us to return. Sometimes you got to be like the prodigal son. Well, you got to get real low before you finally come to yourself and understand that it was better where I was before I decided to take myself down this road. Sometimes you got to go down that road. Some people are just that hard-headed. Some people got to bump their head quite a few times to see, I really don't need to be over here. I don't deserve to be over here. I deserve better than this. And where I wasn't as bad as what I thought it was. Some people will play their situation to be the most horriblest situation until they look inside somebody else's window. Or until they sit inside somebody else's household and be like, golly. And I thought my situation was bad. Oh, no. I appreciate my situation a lot better than, what I'm going through right now. I ran into that situation with a car I had. My car, people used to pick at me all the time about my car. Oh my goodness. It was my very first car too. And I was just happy to be riding. But it ran into a couple of issues. Like, it started to have overheating, issues. And my AC wasn't working. It got me from point A to point B. So I was maneuvering around a lot of things. And I needed to go to the doctor out of town one day. So I went and asked my sister for her car. And in the midst of asking my sister for her car, I was like, listen, can I borrow your car and I'll let you get my car? She was like, yeah, you can borrow it. She said the steering is a little off, but all you got to do is just kind of, straighten it back up and it'll get back on the road and you'll be good. I'm like, okay. Well, me and my mom got in the car and we was ready to hit the road. Okay, I made it about a good 4 blocks away from her job because I picked up the car from her job. And once I get down the road a little bit, I can't keep this car on the road for nothing. I'm like, I don't see how in the world she drive this car every day back and forth to work and go other places. This is hard to do. So I was like, Mom, you've been driving a lot longer than me. You much more experienced with the driving than I am. You feel like getting over here and driving so we can get there on time? My mama said, sure, I'll get over there. So she got into the driver's seat and my mom began driving. And she was having a hard time keeping it on the road. My mom pulled the car over to the side before we got on the interstate and she said, oh no, we ain't finna get on the highway with this vehicle right here. That's dangerous. Especially when I can't keep this car on the road like that. I've been ran into somebody. She said, we're going to take this car back and we're going to get your car and we're going to go in the Hotmobile because I'm not finna go feeling as though I'm not safe. So I said, okay, I understand. I took the car back to my sister. And I gave her the keys back, explained to her what happened, and she started laughing. And I was like, we decided we're going to go in my car instead of, going in your car because we know we can't make it in your car. So we get into my car. And as soon as I got back to my car, I sat on the inside of that. And you said, Lord, I'm so sorry. I was not being appreciative of what you had given me. I'm sitting there down in my car and talking about my car. But I didn't understand. My situation wasn't as bad as what I was making it out to be. Because there's somebody down the line, somebody down the road that's dealing with a worse situation than what I'm dealing with. Lord, I'm sorry. Forgive me. I repent now of that, what I said about my car. I am so grateful that you gave me this vehicle and that it is not worse off than what it is. So after we prayed, we hit the road. I made it to my doctor's appointment and we made it back safely without any problem. So I learned a very good lesson in that situation. To always be thankful and be grateful for what I got. Don't look on somebody else's stuff because it look appealing and want something else that really ain't mine. That something I really ain't supposed to be in or I'm not supposed to be a part of and appreciate what I got. So I've been learning that lesson along the way and I've come pretty far and I thank God for it. Like I say, you got to learn lessons first before you can be elevated to the next level. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, I thank you for this wonderful and amazing word. I thank you that we are hearers as well as doers of the word. I thank you for those who have an ear. Let them thus hear what thus saith the Lord. Lord, I thank you for being with us each and every day and teaching us brand new things about you. Lord, open us up even more to your will and your way. Lord, allow us to get this before it becomes too late. Please don't let us miss the mark, Lord. Lord, allow us to continue to keep running and don't stop. Mount us up on wings like eagle, Lord. Let us run and not be weary. Let us walk and not faint, Lord. Lord, allow us to be exactly what you placed on the inside of us, to do exactly what you've given us as far as our calling, Lord. Lord, allow us to walk fully in our calling, Lord. Lord, please don't let us bump our heads too many times before we get it right. Some people learn very quickly by seeing others, but there are some people who just truly have to go through before they finally get it, to understand that, and they can actually say that they've been through some stuff and they learned, more of a lesson than others, I guess. Some people don't need to go through in order to get the lesson that's supposed to be gotten out of the situation. I thank you for my life lessons. I thank you for my situations. I thank you for making a way out of no way. Lord, continue to wake up your people. Continue to show them what it is to be under your umbrella. Show them your blessedness. Shower your blessings upon them, Lord. Lord, allow them to arise and do exactly what you called them to do. In Yeshua's name I pray. Amen. Shalom.